message of Palm Sunday. That's what we're going to look at today. So I don't know if you saw this on the news or not this week, but there was an item that was of interest to me. I think it happened in Detroit, or near Detroit, Michigan. And as you know, this week, all over the country was kind of unseasonably cool. Temperatures are in the low 40s and down into the 30s. Well, this one particular night, chilly night over there was this young couple, and they left the living room for just a second. And when they came back to the room, their toddler was gone and the front door was open. And they ran out into the night and, frantically searched for the child, but was nowhere to be found. And so they called 911, and the police and the fire department showed up, and they were searching and calling for the infant, but nothing, not a sign of that child. And then the parents told them that he's wearing nothing but a diaper. And it was supposed to go into the 30s. So they, deep into the 30s. And so they knew they only had like a narrow window of time. And so the police called a helicopter. And the helicopter flew out and flew over to the house and the surrounding areas. And they're searching and they're in communication with the police. But it's nighttime. But the thing was, the helicopter was equipped with infrared camera. And so what that allowed them to do is that anything that's giving off heat, they could see it. And sure enough, in the ditch near where the house was, there was a little white dot. And so they could radio in to the police and say, he's in the ditch. And you could see the big white dot, that's the fireman, moving along and picking up the little dot and restoring him to the grateful arms of the parents. And I think what really caught my attention about that is I just kind of processed it. I was so happy to hear that, like good news involving a helicopter, right? But it was just awesome. And but the thing that really caught my attention of it was just kind of thinking about all of this, the enormous effort that went into rescuing this toddler. And yet, from the toddler's perspective, completely clueless about the enormous amount of power and skill and wisdom and technology that was employed to rescue him. Probably the toddler notices the helicopter, probably even raised his hand to point to it from the ditch, right? That's what they do. But knows nothing about how much energy is being exerted on his behalf. He's clueless. He doesn't see any of that. He sees the big fireman coming, picks him up, and happily goes to his parents, but does not understand the whole chain of events, all the people that were involved with the 911 call and the whole rescue setup that's involved, all the equipment that's been purchased and is ready to go. Helicopters can fly into the air and they have the state-of-the-art technology. He doesn't know any of that. And it made me think, wow, this is what happened on Palm Sunday. The King of all kings, the greatest of all authority figures, comes to his people and they totally don't get it. They're completely clueless. They don't have the infrared camera to see what a glowing white dot is in front of them. Oh my goodness, they don't see that. So really there's two messages of Palm Sunday, and the first one is simply not just the blindness of human beings, even though that's true. There's all these healings of people who are blind, which are really pointing to the blindness of human beings. But come to find out, it's worse than just blindness. It's treachery. The human heart, Jeremiah tells us, is deceitful above all else, it says. And then Jeremiah says, who can understand it? That's you, folks. This is the message of Palm Sunday. I have a heart that is deceitful above all else. I don't even understand how bad my condition is. You know, the people on Palm Sunday, they saw Jesus walk in and they were excited. You know, this is part of why we like Palm Sunday. We love to hear the cheers of the people shouting, "Hosanna, here he comes," and waving palm branches and saying, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." You know, we especially love the gesture of them taking off their outer garments and laying them down on the road so that Jesus can ride upon them. It's like a gesture that says, "Jesus, we welcome you and we love you and we give you everything. We serve you. We lay our lives before you." It's kind of like, so we love that. We love Palm Sunday. That's what it's saying. And yet, absolutely, we know that within a week, these same people who were laying their robes before Jesus are shouting, "Crucify him." Folks, that's scary. That is scary. The human heart is deceitful above all else. Who can understand it? Do you think you understand your own heart? You don't. You don't know what it's capable of. You don't know how fickle it is. You don't know what huge mistakes it can make. This is the first message of Palm Sunday. You've got to have a healthy awareness. You're like a clueless toddler in terms of your own sinfulness and faults and failures. Well, that's the first message. What's the second message? The second message of Palm Sunday is that before your eyes is the King of all kings, who is, just like you don't understand your own sin, you don't understand how massive of a king is before you. Now, the people thought they did, right? They thought, oh, he's a political king. He's gonna, stir up the people. He's gonna collect to himself an army, and he will revolt against the powers of Rome. That's what they think. That's what they believe. Even the disciples, to some extent, still think that. Hosanna! Here comes our mighty military hero. Hosanna! Here comes our political hero who's going to fix the political problems. Folks, that's the tip of the iceberg. What an enormous king is before us. If he showed up on an infrared camera, think how bright he would be. Think of the heat and the light coming from him. So, this is what we want to do this week. We want to focus on our king. What kind of king is he? Why is he so great? What is it about Jesus that makes him so great? This is what we want to try to get a grasp of. This is the urgent message of Palm Sunday is look at Jesus, look at him and just see how great he is. So, a few weeks ago I mentioned to you that in the book of Psalms, maybe you remember this, the introduction to the book of Psalms, you know what it is? Probably nobody was paying attention. It's Psalm 1 and Psalm 2. Remember that video we watched that kind of explained that? There's 5 books, and Psalm 1 and Psalm 2 are not part of the 5 books. There's 5 books. Psalm 1 and 2 are the introduction to the book of Psalms. And that's important. That's significant because all of the major themes of this book of praise are held together in those first 2 Psalms. And when you come to the second Psalm, the first Psalm is about the 2 ways, the way of wisdom and the way of folly. The second Psalm is about the Son of God, this king who's going to come. If you remember, it starts out saying something like, why do the nations rage and the peoples plot against the Lord, that's Yahweh, and his anointed one? God laughs at them and holds them in derision, and he says to them, I have installed my king on Mount Zion. And then the second half of the psalm goes on, and you actually get the words of that king. And let me look it up here and see if I can see it. Verse 7 says, I will proclaim the Lord's decree. He said to me, you are my son. Today I have become your father. Why is that so important as an introduction to the Psalms? Because it's telling us let me just say it like this. Every single Israelite who ever read Psalm 2 or sang Psalm 2, this is their songbook, they have this understanding that this great promise, this great blessing that has been given to them, this destiny, this covenant that God has made with them through Abraham, that God is going to bless them. And God is going to bless all of the nations of the earth through them. Listen to me. Every single Israelite who ever read Psalm 2 knows that this promise that God has made to Abraham is not going to come true. It will never come true. It can't come true. It is not going to happen apart from the coming of this king. It's a king that was promised by God to King David, and every Israelite knows it. It's like the two big promises. All the nations are going to be blessed, and a king in the line of David will come. And with those two together, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. Wow. That king is riding right before your eyes. I mean, just imagine yourself in the crowd. You're waving your palm branch. You're laying your coat down. That's the king. That's the king that's passing in front of you. That's who he is. He is that king, Psalm 2 king. He's nothing less than the Son of God incarnate who lived a perfect life. It's beyond what our imagination, what any of the people imagined. They're picturing a political king, but what is this king? He's the king who's coming to reverse the curse that came with Adam and Eve. Oh, he's powerful. Oh, he's doing a great thing. And he's right before their eyes. He is the one who will make a perfect sacrifice as the Son of God so that people can be truly blessed. They can be reconciled to God and truly be blessed. All right, so what I'm going to do is focus now on what's so great about this king. Just so it's fresh in our minds. This is what we're doing today. We're kind of watching Jesus come into Jerusalem, only we're doing it with hindsight, which is so much better because we can see what a great king is before our eyes. So here we go. Because Jesus is that fireman stooping down to pick up the clueless infant. The fireman knows everything that's going on. Infant knows nothing. Jesus is that king. He's that authority figure who's coming to get you. So the first one is just appreciate the sacrifice of this king. We are not used to this. He is a humble king, right? Our scripture today says he's humble, riding on a donkey, on the colt of a donkey. So this is not what people imagined, but this is what he is. He's very humble. He's gentle. He's riding on a donkey. And what that means is he's a sacrificial king. Now just think about your own authority figures in your life, the ones that sacrificed their time or their effort for your sake. And you can see now why this becomes such an important attribute of our great king. He is a humble king who is a sacrificial king. when I was little, we would sing songs around the campfire. I mean, we did this like every night, all through the summer. We would go up, stay by the lake, and we had campfires. All of our cousins would get together and we'd sing around the fire. So everybody everybody had some songs that they could sing. And my dad had a few, 2 or 3 that he had memorized. He knew all the lyrics to them and he would sing. And one of the ones that he knew was a song called Big John. I'm sure you never heard of it. But it's a folk song, and it was about a mining accident that happened. And so, it has many verses and explains the whole accident and everything that happened. But kind of the punchline is that when the mine starts to cave in, Big John stands up and takes a hold of one of the sagging timbers and holds it up. And all the other miners scramble from a would-be grave. And then the lyrics go, now there's only one left down there to save, Big John. And then, of course, the mine caves in on him. And folks, I'm telling you, around the campfire, embarrassing though it was, it was involuntary. I couldn't keep from crying. Like tears would just come. I didn't want to. All my cousins are there. I don't want this. But I couldn't help it. Because music is what speaks to me. And so as I would hear my dad singing those words about this big one that went down there and saved everybody else, and then it all caved in on him and he died in there. I got it. Like that made sense to me. Like, look at that. Nobody does that. That's remarkable. That's astounding that somebody would do that. He stood up, he held those timbers up until everybody escaped, and then the weight of it all crushed him. I didn't even really understand. That's Jesus at that point, but it stirred my heart. Well, folks, that is Jesus. He's the one that rescued you from the pit at a great sacrificial expense. That's what we have in our King. That's who's passing by in front of you today. Oh, it's an important day. Look at your King. This really makes us want to lay our robes down before him that he may travel upon it. The second attribute of our glorious King is that he is righteous and just. That J stands for justice or just. Our King is just. I want you to just imagine you are there waving your palm branches or taking off your outer garment and laying it on the street, and then you're just standing back to watch Jesus go by. And you're thinking about what you know of him, what you've seen of him, what you've heard of him. Many who are there, it actually was done to them. Maybe we think of the woman who was caught in the very act of adultery. You think she was there? Folks, how could she not be? She's there. And if you just think about what happened in that particular incident, and it goes for many of the incidents, we could talk about, Zacchaeus or many others, but just think about that woman for a second. The people in authority, the authority figures, the leaders of the Jews, the elders of the people, that's the Sanhedrin, that's the Supreme Court, that's the highest court in the land. They are the people that come to Jesus and said, this woman was caught in the very act of adultery. The law demands that she be stoned to death. The law of God demands that she be stoned to death. Now, what do you say? Now, folks, it'd be easy for us to imagine, we're aware of many political leaders, many political, powerful leaders who would think nothing of saying, in fact, it would be the right answer. Well, I am a man who upholds the law. of God. And if the law says she must be stoned to death, she must be stoned to death. That's not hard for us to imagine at all. That happens every day. That's just normal, run-of-the-mill stuff. But with Jesus, what does he say? Well, he knows that there is injustice in every set of eyes that's looking at him. He sees them. He knows what they did. He knows how they set her up. He knows all about it. And he says, okay, let him who is without sin cast the first stone. And they all disperse. All her accusers disperse. So it's just him and the woman left. And what does he say to her? Woman, where are your accusers? Has no one condemned you? No one, sir. Then neither do I condemn you. Go your way and sin no more. Now look at that. What we see in Jesus is the highest level of mercy that there is. He pardons, the woman deserved the death penalty, and he pardoned her. But folks, he did not pardon her at the expense of justice. Somebody has to die. Who will do it? Jesus says, I will. I will take her place. He is perfectly just. You don't know anybody who's perfectly just. You might be a Republican and you think one person is just, but do they have sins? Yeah. You might be a Democrat. You might think, well, they're the most just. You know? Mayor Adams, for example. Is he perfectly just? Well, then let's go with Como. He's just, right? Ooh, catch 22 here. Right? Jesus is perfectly just. He's what you want. He's what when you were little, your heart wanted justice. You cried great big tears because it wasn't fair. Well, guess what? There's only one authority figure who's always fair, who's always right, who is both merciful, perfectly merciful, and perfectly just. And that's Jesus. Look at him. Don't you want to lay your robe before him and say, from now on, you are my number one authority figure. I worship you. You are the one that I love. You're my true king. I will obey you in all things. I trust you more than I trust any human being. I trust you above all. That's the second one. Not only is Jesus sacrificial and humble, not only is he just and merciful, but lastly, the third attribute that we'll look at is he's effective. He's powerful. He has what it takes. Don't we want this in an authority figure? Kind of like what Doris said, somebody who's smart, who's got the wherewithal to make it happen. We like those kind of authority figures, somebody who can actually do what needs to be done, who's got that ability, who can make it happen. Folks, that's what you have in Jesus. He's in control. You know, sometimes our lives feel like they are out of control, but Jesus is in control. He tells us, we know that he is working all things together for our good. Now that is a powerful promise. When you know that Jesus, the Son of God, is in charge, not a hair can fall from your head without him knowing. I mean, just think how powerful he is. You know, we see it in his words. When he would say something, people would say, well, nobody ever spoke like this. Because when he talks, it has authority. He's so different than the teachers of the law. But when Jesus speaks, it's got authority. We see it in his full command and authority over nature. Remember that when the sea is raging, and the disciples say, don't you care if we drown? Jesus speaks, peace, be still, and the raging, torrential waters become a reflecting pool instantly. Still as glass. And then Jesus even interprets it for us. What is the meaning of this? That he has that kind of power. What is the meaning of it? Well, he turns and he explains it to his disciples and he says, why are you so afraid? That's the explanation. That's what it means, that he's all powerful. Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? Do you see what it means? He has that kind of power. If you believe in him, if you trust him, you should not be afraid. You can fight fear with faith because your faith is someone who does have that kind of power.